Cloud. Good evening and welcome to the astrology show. And thanks to Alex. You know, you've probably, if you haven't heard of the Alex effect, let me introduce it to you right now. So not only is this the astrology show on ckdu.ca and 88.1 FM, but it's also the astrology show podcast because Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hey, MJ.
You're quite the world traveler. Tell the nice people what some of the shenanigans, and you better properly introduce yourself because although I don't believe it, there might still be someone in the world who doesn't know who you are.
Ooh, where do I start? I'm a teacher and I'm an astrologer. I have been traveling around a lot lately. I'm doing a North American tour.
You sure are.
I started off on the 27th of August. I started off in Los Angeles, and the next day I went to San Francisco, then back to LA, then over to Santa Fe by Amtrak, and then back to LA, then did another talk in LA, then up to Edmonton, and then I came over.
Come on now, up to Edmonton, where you...
I was the keynote speaker. My first ever keynote speech at the Canadian Astrology Conference. And I got to say how impressed I am with Canadian astrology, MJ, because, you know, we don't hear a lot about Canadian astrology over on my side of the Atlantic in London.
Fix that for sure.
We do need to fix this because really exciting things are going on here in Canada. And we are... MJ, the hard worker, is starting a new initiative with the East Coast of Canada and the USA, and it's the first ever conference over this way, and we got some phenomenal speakers. We got phenomenal MJ.
I was able to talk this really very famous British astrologer into coming over and speaking. Clearly the woman has no sense, or, you know, hasn't got the brains that God gave a goose, but somehow we talked her into coming all the way to Halifax. Oh, hi, Alex. As our keynote speaker. So let's start with your lecture then. Because folks out there in Radio Land, you know, maybe you follow this show a lot and you're, you know, maybe a professional astrologer, or maybe you're, you know, you've done a lot of work, maybe you've had a few courses, or maybe you just read the newspaper and you know that you're a Gemini or a Leo or something, right? So we tried to find topics in the conference that would appeal to real life. And yours is a great example.
Yeah, well, you know, I never became an astrologer with the hopes of becoming a star sign columnist. That never fit into my life goals ever. I wanted to enhance people's lives. I wanted to do some research. I wanted to bring astrology up in its level of communicating with people and showing other people what it can actually do. So, you know, I have tried to write the dailies. I think you have too.
That happens from time to time.
But, you know, I don't find it particularly edifying. And I don't find, you know, it's not difficult. I mean, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying that, you know, I want to do something more with astrology.
I think it's, I mean, I see it from two sides, but that would be the progressed sun in Libra, which I can only apologize for. Scorpio moon hates it, I'm going to tell you. But I see that people like Linda Goodman, they're like, what do they call it? A gateway drug. It's a gateway drug.
But Linda Goodman wrote her book 40 years ago, and I think astrology has moved on in terms of showing what it can do. That was, you know, a way of getting people engaged. And let me emphasize again, because I don't want to offend my astrology friends who do write star sign columns. It's not that I find a problem with it. It's just that it's not for me. And I was a kind of astrologer that would waste 3 hours writing these things that would take me 20 minutes to do. And I had to work out something to do something else with astrology. And so as a teacher, what I wanted to do was help myself become a better teacher and be more effective for my students.
Yes.
And so that's how I got started in my own research. I also like stats. I never used to like stats, but I started liking them a lot more. So I started using...
You've come over to the dark side.
I come over to the dark side, yeah.
Yay!
I started off my university career being a behavioral psychologist, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of come right around and bit you in the ass.
Yeah, because I changed my major. I changed my major because I didn't want to do statistics, and then it did bite me in the arse, and now I love stats. Now I see how stats can really help us engage with skeptics. Which
I'm always pitching that we are the ology and that anything with an OLOGY on the end is a statistical
Not
science.
a gist. We're not a gist.
Yes, no, but what I mean is that, we don't get the same credibility as, meteorology, and we do all their long-term forecasts
Yeah,
for them.
and what's this about, meteorologists, they get a prediction wrong, and it's okay because they're the weatherman. An astrologer gets it wrong, and suddenly astrology is disproven. What's that about?
And we write all the weather for the astrologers write all the weather for the Farmer's Almanac, so we do the job they can't do.
You know what else, as a teacher, and just to interject this too, I make more predictions as a teacher with grades and everything else. I make about 5,000 predictions a year, and my prediction as a teacher can do far more harm to a child than anything that I could say as an astrologer. And I get predictions wrong as a teacher. I don't know what my average against
it's not measured.
Astrology. Yeah, I haven't done it. Yeah, but I know that there have been times where I've underestimated or overestimated a child's ability, and I can see that
it's easy to do because you don't get to see them 24/7. Especially like I used to do high school, and you get to see them one cycle in 7 for an hour, and you're supposed to come up with But straight to the point. Do tell them what you're going to teach them on Saturday, will you?
I am doing this incredible mashup of research that I've been doing, looking at behavioral stats and looking at what kind of behavior we expect from children at different ages. I have a thing about triangulation. Sometimes call it strangulation, which is using statistics, astrological theory, and outside resources. So I'm kind of putting all this together, and so I'm looking at ways that we can enhance education for our children. I think it's so important. Education is often the first area that is undercut.
Well, what do you mean funding-wise?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to ask the stupid question. If it's super important to know within 4 minutes when a person's born, and all you have is your cum data, which would be date of birth, you wouldn't even necessarily have location of birth. So there's no way you're going to get a rising sign or a rising degree. I call shenanigans. How can you use astrology?
I'm going to tell you, all you need to know is Jupiter and Saturn, which you do not need to know the time and place of birth. Of course, it is important, and I'm not undermining that importance. I'm just saying that when you're talking about learning and we're talking about working with children, you have to have certain boundaries working with them. You don't want to get into their personal life. I'm not interested in their love life. I'm not interested. I'm interested in how they learn. That's all I care about.
That's a really salient point that there is such a key, it's due diligence, isn't it? If we're in locus parentis, it's our job to really define and maintain those boundaries. Absolutely.
So I'm going to be talking about my research in astrology education. I'm going to talk about how we can use astrology to make teaching, I'm not going to say easier, I think that's the wrong word, but more efficient, and how we can 45% of teachers will leave the profession within the first 5 years of starting, and I think that's a ridiculous amount of wasted resources. I know that from teaching and working with new teachers, how frustrating it is to invest all this time into training them, and they leave and they go on to something else that's more lucrative. But I have to say, not more fulfilling.
Well, that's, and I've recently been struggling with that very same thing, but it's the way, and I've heard you rant on about it too, that the way the classroom's organized in this day and age is not the way kids learn in this day and age. And it makes class control really hard, it makes teaching really hard, and everyone's miserable.
Yeah. Well, you just need the eyebrow. Teaching.
You have good eyebrow.
I can do good eyebrows.
You have good eyebrow.
But if you can understand the cycles of the moon, and if you can, if you will listen to my lecture tomorrow, I'll tell you about how my data shows that children tend to misbehave more in the new moon than the full moon, and also I can demonstrate the lunar effect. And I'm not even done with my research yet. I have a lot more I want to do.
Good, because Syzygy wants to publish it.
So Syzygy is MJ's magazine that she's doing for the National Council for Geocosmic Research. And so astrologers are fighting back,
Yeah, again, they hired me back.
Well, we are fighting back, and we are trying to... there is no 13th sign. Ophiuchus is not a sign.
Well,
it's
a red herring, darling.
A red herring, indeed. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and astrologers need to listen to what the skeptics are saying.
Oh, absolutely.
They sometimes the skeptics have valid things. We do have a lot of bias confirmation in astrology.
You can easily go that way,
and
can't
a lot
you?
of cherry
not
picking
you
going on
personally,
too.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You have come over to the dark side, though.
I'm in the dark side.
And I do need to warn you about that. Because when you're a research astrologer who is interested in the facts and who is going to test the data, you piss off two groups of people at the same time.
Yay.
You piss off the astronomers who don't want to know and who won't listen. And I'm like, wait, I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry. I thought you were a scientist, but clearly you're not interested in looking at data.
Yeah.
Okay, so not a scientist. But you get to piss off a whole other group of people too, and I just thought I'd warn you because, you're coming down that slope, that slippery slope towards us codgers, and that is you piss off the unicorns and rainbows astrologers.
Who want to believe that, when I say my conclusion about my research, that children tend to misbehave more at the new moon than full moon, I actually have had astrologers say, but we know that children misbehave more at the full moon than the new moon. We know that for sure.
We know because my mother told me, and she's always right.
The books have told us.
Because it's written down in print, and that can't be a lie.
Yeah.
So
and children, eclipses have nothing to do with behavior as well. By the way, Mercury retrograde has nothing to do with behavior. It's other things going on there. So, but when you present a huge database, I don't know of another astrologer who has a database on the level that I have. And in fact, any research you do on student behavior and lunar phases pales in comparison to what I have and what I've analyzed. And that research comes from non-astrologers. So, I have the statistics to back up what I say.
You certainly do. And if you're out there listening thinking, dear Lord, that sounds complicated, don't worry. Two things I need to say to you there. Number one, Alex is an incredible teacher. I've had the privilege to teach alongside her actually in the UK, and she's a star, darling, a star. But so she can make anything clear and simple and not stressy. And this lecture is not specifically geared for astrologers; it's geared for educators and parents. So if you're, if you have a kid, this lecture is for you.
Or anybody in a position of authority. So if you think about it, everyone is in a position of authority because you get to be our age or we all have to step up to the plate at some point, and we have to be the ones that have to be the immovable objects and have to be the ones that enforce
to provide
the rules.
some structure and
to give structure to hold the space. So my lecture is really for anybody. You don't have to have children. And it's not about me lecturing to anybody about how to be a perfect parent or a perfect teacher, because I'm neither of those, or a perfect astrologer. It's about working with the data that we have, and working with our mistakes, because I've learned from mistakes too.
I think every professional does.
To make education a better experience for everybody. The other problem I have, David, let me sneaking this in.
Sneak it right on in there, girl.
We've all been educated in some way. And usually it's through the public schools, or if you live in the UK, it's the comprehensive system. But we've all been educated in a certain way with the same group of people. So, we are all educated within year groups.
Oh, yes.
And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at data of year groups and how year groups function. But what I wanted to say is that, we have this way of being educated, and we don't know any different. Our grandparents and our great-grandparents were educated the same way. So it's an outdated system, but because we're in the middle of it all, we can't see that it's something that's outmoded and outdated and needs to change. And I think astrology can bring that change that we need.
Astrology can certainly pinpoint the beautiful thing. I find it one of the best diagnostic tools out there, better than Myers-Briggs. And so if you're trying to ascertain where the gaps are, geez, it's a great piece of kit.
And funnily enough, teachers will try, or parents will try anything. They'll try Myers-Briggs, they'll try psychology, they'll try anything else. But if you mention astrology, it's a medieval system.
We're still struggling with that, but I think the light's coming back. Dalhousie University has just started a series of 4 courses in the magical mindset. And it's quite an interest. It's in the classics department. It's also in the history department. It's cross tabulated. I did have the privilege of assisting at a lecture, attending a lecture, and I really think it's quite cogent and well researched and not biased, neither to the side of the medieval mind, neither to the side of the modern mind. It's really an honest discourse looking at the two different ways of looking at the world, the pre-industrial revolution and post-industrial revolution algorithm, and asking some probing questions about what have we lost, which baby got thrown out with that bathwater. It's Kyle. I'm sorry, I've lost his family name, but I really was impressed with him as a lecturer. Yeah. So go Dalhousie for getting on the train. So our first lecture on Saturday morning is going to be Lisa Bland. And Lisa has a really interesting background and stuff like that. Well, I'll let you, I think you've got some information about her.
Oh, she is doing some work on intuitive witchcraft. And she's a long-time advocate and volunteer for the environment and marginalized communities. She's a fourth-degree initiate of the Temple of Witchcraft tradition and has been practicing witch for more than 15 years. That's half a Saturn cycle. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
She's also a Reiki healer, core shamanistic practitioner. She does meditation, and she has qualified through NCGR,
she has.
She does herbalism, psychic development, and aromatherapy. We spent a lot of time in India, MJ. And one of the things that's always impressed me about astrology in India is how holistic it is. So it's not just about knowing where the stars and planets are. It's also gemology, palmistry, feng shui as we know it. But I very much like what Lisa is doing. She's bringing this holistic approach. And also with witchcraft, it's not about accepting your fate. It's about actually being interactive with it and taking steps to be responsible for your position in the cosmos. So I'm really looking forward to meeting her. She does a lot of writing. She has a blog, Living the Liminal, and she has other content through the Witches Realm.
And she hasn't listed her biggest job. She's a mom.
She's a mom.
She's got 2 kids. So that's they say the toughest job you'll ever love. You learn more doing that than you do doing anything else, I think, in this life.
And you'll learn what you love too.
Yeah,
more than anything else.
More than anything else. And you don't have the page for the lectures by chance in there somewhere? Because I know I can talk a little bit about it, but it would be nice to give her the right title for her lecture.
We're
going to load that now.
Load it now.
So it's basically so if you've never looked at a birth chart and you see a birth chart like this behind us is pretending to be a birth chart, you see a giant dinner plate full of squiggles. And my experience with my level 1 learners, which by the way, if this is tempting you to become an astrology student, I will be starting a new intake of entry-level students on the 3rd of October, and you can take it from anywhere in the world, because I do it through Zoom, and I also have a Moodle school, which I'm very excited to tell you. Actually, Alex is going to have a group. You can do like a sub-school, so she's actually going to have her Rohini school in that school.
Rohini School
of Astrology. So look for her courses as well. Very exciting. So this would be an NCGR level 1. And it's also would handle the CAAE, which is not internationally known, but it is, however, a Canadian offering. Go Canada. And also just for general interest. So by the time you're done the 6 classes, you'll know how to read a birth chart. But Lisa she's way ahead of me. So she's done this really cool, and it was such a cool idea. I was excited when I read her suggestion or her proposal. She calls it Understanding Yourself, the Shape of You. And for those of us who've done astrology before, you know how we look how many are above the horizon, how many are below the horizon. We look at the quadrants. We divide it into 3 pieces of the chart, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, and then 9 to 12. And we sort of look at the elements, and we look at the, the modes, cardinal, fixed, or mutable. And we get just a general feel. We also look at chart shapes like things such as buckets, wheelbarrows, fans and displays and those kinds of things. And if your eyes are starting to glaze over, don't worry, because there's another great teacher. Lisa's a great teacher, and she will walk you through it. So you won't even have to know what squiggle means the sun or what squiggle means the moon. You don't need it. She's just going to look at where the cluster of planets are on the dinner plate. Bring your dinner plate, and she'll sort you out. That's from 9 to 10 on Saturday. What's at 10 o'clock? Let me think.
10 o'clock is...
Oh, it's Danny.
Danny Larkin. We love Danny Larkin.
I'm actually going to... I actually have had to pick him up Thursday night at midnight, or the witching hour at the airport, but it was well worth it.
And he's going to be talking about Aphrodite, the force of love and romance in our lives. And Danny is very young and very enthusiastic, but don't let young throw you off. He's very knowledgeable.
He is. He's come all the way from New York City to join us at this. So, I mean, this is an international conference, guys. We're having people from all over the place. And the way he's framed it to me, do you have the blurb there?
I do indeed.
I'll let you read it then.
He is the ancient deity of Aphrodite. It was far more capricious than today's new age feel good kumbaya pin-up simplification.
Kumbaya pin-up. I love it.
In ancient times, Aphrodite was a deity that had to be honored and who retaliated against those who crossed her.
Oh, yes.
The place of Venus in the horoscope reveals how Aphrodite expects to be honored and how the force of love and romance unfolds in our lives. Hey, I need to hear this.
You know, and I have quite a martial Venus, like mine's quite Marsy, so it was a relief to be offered something that wasn't unicorns and rainbows.
You know, and I just want to interject on this too. You know, at astrology conferences, you know, you hear a lot of stuff about astrology on the media, on Facebook and Twitter, and an astrology conference is an opportunity to learn astrology more in depth and to be engaged with astrologers and to just to learn far more of what you would normally learn just if you just hung around Facebook all day long. There's a lot more to astrology, and in fact, I will say that I've been studying astrology for 30 years, and I not even close to knowing it all.
Well, it's kind of why it's so much fun. I remember when you were gracious enough to invite me to India, and I sat there in the Dalhousie Lectures, and this slow grin spread across my face as I realized I haven't a clue what they're saying. And it was such a relief to know that there's more to learn, because really, isn't that the whole point, is to keep on learning?
Mm.
And I'm now a student of Jyotish astrology. And I love it.
I'm a student too, but I also know that I don't have enough time in my life to become a good Jyotish student.
No, you'd have to spend your entire life.
I'm still learning. So I'm humble before astrology.
She is the great lady whom I serve.
Yes, not me, astrology we're talking about.
Oh, I love how you slipped that in there. Although I did have to, make sure there was, her favorite things on tap. She said in an off comment, I fancy a taco. So, of course, that's what we had to have for dinner.
We fancy a glass of wine, too.
Oh, yes. Accio, where is it? Accio wine. It's a Harry Potter takeoff. And then on the other side, well, it says hags. Because I guess, you get to a certain age.
Night hags.
Hags, I know, right? Accio wine. Swish and flick. So who's next after... Oh, you are. You're the star.
Oh,
you're the keynote. You come.
Make me a star of anything.
Pride of place right before our lunch break.
I'm delighted to be the keynote speaker for this conference, and my lecture is called "How to Get Children to Reach for the Stars." We're all children still, and my epitaph will be, "Show me a playground and I'll show you the world," because we never get away from the our brain development all happens a lot when we're in adolescence, and we get stuck in habits and things like that. So I hate the way people are picking on Greta.
I think it means she's doing it right.
I think so too. How much this girl has inspired me. She's 16 years old. She persuaded her parents to be vegan, to not take planes, and she's just really inspired me to. I haven't used a paper cup in about 8 months, I think. So the last time I used a paper cup. I take planes, but I'm not taking as many as I used to. And also,
that's going to be a tough one for me because. what I hope it will do is spearhead the avionics industry into getting smart about how they do things, because they do crazy stuff like dump fuel and stuff. Like there's a lot of improvement that could be made in the avionics industry. Because I'm thinking, well, how the way the modern world works, most of our stuff. I mean, we can teleconference, and actually, stay tuned, faithful listeners, because the Canadian astrologers are going to unite again as they did in long ago. Those of you old enough to remember the FCA, the Federation of Canadian Astrologers, we got talking at the Canadian conference, and we are going to, there's going to be a networking site, and we're going to link up across the country, and we're going to use the internet to try to, so one big conference and then a lot of sort of virtual smaller conferences.
Yeah, and we need more of this, because what I'm finding, because I went to a conference in Latvia, in Riga, Latvia last year. I also went to one in Cape Town, South Africa, and every conference has its own particular personality. And I really think that what we're going to see is more smaller conferences which don't require the huge long haul flights, but yet we're still going to see this great unification of astrologers. We're getting smarter with the way we do things.
Yeah, and you and I are both ISAR reps.
Yes, I am the ambassador for India.
And I'm the ambassadress for Canada. Puis je suis aussi la directrice globale en français aussi. So, vous pouvez me contacter dans les deux langues. Votre choix. But the main thing is, we ISAR global directors, we were talking about doing an international conference and not using airplanes and doing it, virtually, which is, it's the thing.
I think astrologers are as I said before, we see a lot of really new and inexperienced astrologers on social media who say they're not incorrect, but they're not as in-depth as they could be. And us older guys who've been around for a while,
we can sometimes get a little crabby about that. Yeah, we can be a little, my goodness, clutching my pearls.
Yeah, but as someone who teaches Shakespeare to children, I understand that there's a need to get the comic books out. I love a good astrology meme, for example. And to engage,
yeah, that is definitely one of your strengths, I have to say.
To engage the young people, but a lot to be learned. And I'm really happy to say that what this trip has taught me about astrology is that Canadian astrologers are really stepping up to the mark, and they're really doing some incredible things. MJ is really doing some amazing stuff. And I just got back from the Canadian Astrology Conference.
Tracy Quinlan. We love you, Tracy.
And Donna Young. Alan Annan.
Ingy Losa. And of course, Chris McRae. Vincent Godbout.
We love you, Vincent.
On t'aime bien, Vincent. He's from Montreal. He's francophone, and he's a mathematician, and he has written the best astrology program on the planet, or in French or in English, called Mastro, M-A-S-T-R-O. So go to mastroapp.com, and it's free. So you can just download, and the paid copy is $160 Canadian.
And Vincent's really sexy too.
Oh, there you go. You heard it here first.
Oh, Franco
Solbury.
We love him too.
Well, he's just a party looking for a place to happen. And Alain Nanode was there in Edmonton, and we had the after party band.
And Brittany?
Yep. Oh, Brittany. Wasn't she cool? Forensic.
She did a talk on forensics on astrology.
We're going to totally get her down east. Hopefully next year.
We got such big plans
conference next year.
This year might be a little bit small, but next year we're going to do something big.
We're not tiny.
We're not tiny, though.
For a first event, I'm proud of us.
I'm proud of us. Yeah.
And we have a vendor fair in the basement. So it's not in that kind of basement. No, there's no cages. We're not feeding people bread through the bars. No, it's a beautiful, if you've never been to the Royal Artillery Park, Officers Mess, it's at the very end of Queen Street, touching basically the base of the hill for Citadel Hill. If you know where Anna's Cafe is, the entrance is directly across the street from Anna's Cafe, and you need to go see that building. It has chandeliers, hardwood floors. It is truly beautiful. The lectures are taking place upstairs, and there's some excellent vendors as well as astrologers. If you want to get a reading, they'll be downstairs as well. That runs from 10 to 4 on the Saturday, and we'll be handing out Astro dollars. Go on, ask me.
Yes. MJ, tell us more about these Astro dollars.
Oh, thank you. I will. So it is this corny piece of Monopoly
Corny.
money. Well, I love it, but it's corny. And on the front, it has the star, Northern Stars. But on the back, it says, "This spends like money. This is worth $1 at the Astro Fair." So you have to go to the Astro Fair so you can spend your Astro dollar. It's a thing. We're going to be running up and down Spring Garden Road handing out Astro dollars on Saturday morning. So keep an eye out for us. And come and see us at RA Park Officers Mess. It's going to be a wonderful morning. So that's the morning. Then we have lunch. And right away in the afternoon, we have the lovely and luscious Deborah Clahane. Deb is a dear, and rather, I don't want to say an old friend because she's not old, but we have known each other some time, you know. And she is from Raffle. And for you folks that don't know where that is, it's you spell it Wolfville, but never say it that way because people will point and laugh. So she's from Raffle, and she's driving all the way down from Raffle, and she's going to be staying with another of our speakers, whom I speak about in a minute. And the thing about Deborah is she can do anything. She's an excellent researcher. She's been published in Syzygy. She did some hands-on planting by the moon. Basically, she did a whole experiment with bean sprouts in jars, and she laid it out according to moon cycles. She got a bunch of people to do them at different times, and then she categorized the results, took photographic evidence, wrote it up, and we put it into the research journal. Excellent work, genuinely excellent work, planting by the moon. But anyway, she's a mundane astrologer. She's a researcher. This chick can do it all. And for us, she's going to do something called a decoding of the birth chart, the art of synthesis. So she's going to basically, if you've never looked at a chart before and you're trying to figure out where to, they call it the round art. Ted Mann calls it the round art. I know. I'm such a groupie. Yeah, I got his.
I had dinner with him at sunset on Amtrak as we were traveling from New York City to Chicago for UAC with Chris Flisher, one of the high points of my life.
Howard
Erie
from Australia. Yeah, it was a good gig. And Barris was there from Turkey. It was an amazing gig.
And Michael Luton.
Oh, well, bless Michael. We all genuflect in his general direction because he was crazy enough to go, well, what I think I'm going to do is just rent an entire train car, as you do, and build it, and they will come. And we did. We came.
Yeah, and we were doing readings for the conductors, and we were doing all sorts of things. And at the end, they wished us all a great astrology conference, which was wonderful. So we dominated this train for 19 hours. It was glorious. It was great. And we also did the interview. We did
in New York City.
And we are in the back of New York City cabs. So, you know, astrology, and could I also say we're all professional astrologies with professional astrology qualifications, and we've all been at it for a long time. And so it's great that we're being acknowledged for our devotion. There's no other word for it.
And our expertise. Like, I don't mean to be rude, but I mean, it's like anybody. If you're an architect and you've gone to school for a long time and you've built a lot of buildings, you get good at your architecture. And you and I are, you know, this isn't our first rodeo. So Deborah has this she's very calm. She's very soft-spoken, and she's very clear. And she takes, again, difficult ideas and makes them very nibbleable.
Yes,
and I think that if nibbleable. That's a word I just made up. Yes, I did. And the thing is, if you're curious about how to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of a chart, so all you kind of bouncing baby level 1 astrologers that want to stretch yourself a little bit, you need to see Deb's lecture. Highly recommended. And then we have, all the way from Montreal, quite excited, Debbie Stapleton.
She's doing Plants and Planets, Exploring Astrological Herbalism. Now,
I think there's going to be a slightly different topic title. I have to get it into but last night when I was putting up the website, she writes for quite a number of periodica, so she's published, and she writes a lot of sort of the columns and stuff like that. So I just got her stuff this evening, so I will correct that title. But she has been involved in herbalism and in astrology for a very, very long time.
Elle parle en français, n'est-ce pas?
Elle parle un peu de français. Elle est anglo. So she's more an anglophone, but she definitely, if anyone who lives in Montreal, you have to have a little parlez-vous with you, definitely. But what I loved about her was, it was so funny because she found out about this conference rather after the fact, and Elodie pitched for her. We're going to talk about Elodie in a minute. La belle Elodie, on l'aime tellement.
So cute.
She is, and she's our girl. She's our girl. She's our Venus and Leo girl.
She was our roommate in the U.S.
She totally was our bunkhouse roomie. And so it was kind of heartbreaking. She's like, but I really want to do this herbalism. I'm like, no, I'm terribly sorry. We have someone speaking. And then he was unable to attend. And it was just almost like kismet. Like she just, and so it's not the same lecture as he would have delivered, but it's, this is her passion. So I'm very excited to have her come and do that work with us.
And then Elodie.
And la belle Elodie, elle est super bien. So who's the boss? Dispositors, rulers, and dignities.
Now, Elodie's a really good example of somebody who's a young astrologer but has really embraced the ancient techniques. Now, I got to say, me, I'm kind of all about the future of astrology. I do things differently. But Elodie is about resurrecting these historical techniques and bringing them in. They're very important. To understand where we're going to, we got to see where we've come from.
Correct.
So she is somebody who's really emerging as a new speaker.
Yeah.
I don't think she's had a Saturn return, has she? She's
no, I can't possibly tell you. She may have had her Saturn return, but you'll have to ask Elodie. But she looks very young, doesn't she?
And she's very cute too.
Yeah.
And she was our roommate, as I said, at UAC, lots of energy. She's a baker.
Yes, she does a lot of things well.
And we love Elodie.
We do love Elodie. And so that's from 3 until 4. And that's going to set you up to be able to understand horary astrology, electional astrology, classical astrology. That's what the whole sign stuff, what they call Hellenistic. So that lecture is really a keystone lecture. And how important is it and how good is she? When I run my Halifax Astrology School classes, and I think, I'm pretty good, I guess, because I'm a Leo, I always invite her to be a guest speaker, and I pay her to teach that because she's so good at that. And she's also very good at explaining it. So really, you are getting a very important lecture for a very reasonable price. By the way, this whole day and the following day is $99.
$99
Canadian. Yeah.
It's the price of a meal for two.
I know, northern-stars.ca, northern-stars.ca. So you've only got hours to get your ticket, so crack on. No pressure.
And then at 4 to 5 we have Chris Raspucci. Is that right?
He's come all the way from Maine. And he's going to speak on moon magic, better timing with the lunar mansions. So the lunar mansions are classical as a technique, and they're kind of the West's answer to nakshatras. Mm-hmm. So it's this kissing cousin of the nakshatras. Mm-hmm. So I'm so interested to.
A nakshatra is the distance the moon moves in 1 solar degree. So roughly
So you mean a day? In a day?
In 1 day.
So it's about 13 degrees, right?
About 13 degrees.
Yeah.
Between 13 and 14 degrees.
Yeah.
So lunar mansions are a really good way of understanding. It's like adding more detail to
a reading.
To your reading. Yep.
Absolutely. And so what he's saying, better timing, better, you can zero in on stuff better. And then last but not least, we always, because Saturn always has the last word. Because Saturn.
Yeah. Is it Wynne Jordan?
Wynne Jordan.
Wynne Jordan.
Now, Wynne has had many incarnations. She's a professor right now at
clever girl.
I think she's at one of the universities locally doing religious studies, and she's very gifted in that area as well. But she kind of started, I'll tell you how long she's been involved with astrology. East Coast Astrology was a group that was here, and I remember coming up and lecturing to them in 1987 and teaching them about asteroids. Way back when I just met Demetra. I'd come up from Ottawa. So she's been involved way back when. There was a book created in the time of Axel, my teacher, on Canadian astrologers. I'll have to show it to you. A guy by the name, I think it was Clements, put it together. And she's in that book.
Wow. As
being listed as the key person for the East Coast astrology. So if we have any astrology in the Maritimes, we have Wynne to thank for it. So Saturn and Dharma upholding the cosmic order. And then, after Saturn has had his say, we repair to Dana dawning. We're off to Rasa Indian Restaurant for a feed, and both of the owners are Jyotish astrologers.
And I'm wearing a kuti.
I don't know if I can get into my sari because I don't know, because when the last time I tried to put it on, my friend from Pakistan took a look at me, howled with laughter and said, "You and me, we need to go to the bathroom right now. I need to fix that." So I don't know. But yeah, we're going to try to do Indian regalia.
It's really hard to wrap a sari because it's like 30 meters of fabric.
It's a lot like the great kilt, the big plaid, what we call the great plaid.
On your shoulder. And you got to pin it in awkward places. That's hard to do that on your own. So you have to.
You do.
You have to. Have someone help you.
It's fairly sweary, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, we don't get up until the next day. And Sunday at 9 o'clock, we have the luscious.
That's early, Jay. You think we're going to be up to getting up that early?
What is that noise? It's unacceptable. No noise.
And,
okay, sorry about that. Where are we?
Hope no one's trying to break in. We got Terry Stevens.
Poltergeist.
Oh, she does some really interesting research on MCIC. A big question in astrology: is the MC the father or the mother, or the Imam Cheli? Is it the father or the mother, or the MC and midheaven? Is it the father or the mother? So this is something that's raged on. It's the kind of the traditional astrologers versus the modern astrologers.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, I love Alfie, call him Papa Gator, Alfie Lavoie, and he says that the 10th house is mom and the 4th house is dad. And in my unmeasured experience, which isn't the same as research, I tend to lean that way. Mm-hmm. I often will ask my clients, well, which is more descriptive of your mom or your dad? And I'll tell both the IC and the MC. And my experience is that the bulk of my clients resonate with the MC description as being their mom. But that's not the same as research. Terry's going to do the research. She's actually going to do it.
She's got the numbers to put behind the statements, which is what I was talking about with my own research. So it's going to be really interesting. So we're going to be talking about that. And then,
well, if you're interested, when you register, please put your name down as a potential candidate. So she's going to do in-depth interviews with at least 50 people. I told her she had to have at least 50 because statistics. And so if you're interested in being a guinea pig, by all means, do step up and let her know.
And then at 10 o'clock.
So just to explain, she's doing using the past to predict the future. This chick is guess what her final dispositor in her chart is?
Mercury?
Oh, big time. And so she leaves no turn unstoned.
No turn unstoned?
No turn unstoned. And so there was a Far Side cartoon, which was quite funny, with the drawing of a marijuana boat that had sank and all these stone turns in the harbor. But anyway, no stone unturned. And basically, she's gone back and she's looked at, this is so good for her development as an astrologer. You know it and I know it. She's gone back to see when the last time Pluto was here, when the last time Neptune was here, when the last time Saturn was here, when the last time Jupiter was here. And she's made notes about discoveries that were made, different kinds of diseases that were rampant, kinds of wars that were fought, and she's done a really serious cataloging, so that she's going to help us see what kinds of things happened before, and then she's going to have a stab at what kinds of things she thinks is coming in 2020. So I'm just proud of her, because my God, what do you mean you've just finished level 1 and level 2? No, she's a qualified natal astrologer. So she's gunning for level 2. She'll be very soon. She'll be a qualified professional astrology. So she's already starting to take clients. I feel that if you're honest about what your qualifications are and your level are, that's okay. So she said, I'm qualified professionally to do natal charts. And she does a lot of sort of personality type stuff. And then but she, of course, as a student, she needs people to work with so she can practice, so she can get ready for her level 2. So anyways, she's
hard work these astrology conferences. I mean, one of the things, I hope that listeners get is how much work it takes to call yourself an astrologer, because I think there's a lot of people that try to claim to be astrologers but they don't really have the practice or the study behind it.
Well, I used to get really upset about that.
There's no point in getting upset.
It took me 5 years sitting on a cushion at a Buddhist temple, but I got there. I figured out that I'm not their mother, and it's not my personal responsibility. It's not my monkey, and neither my jungle. The best thing we can do is to make a really big splash and show folks the real astrology, and then they can vote with their feet. That's and not to be mean either, that if there's anybody in the world who's in that place, they probably are there because they don't know that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They think they know. So otherwise they wouldn't do it. They're not bad people. They just don't know. So the hope is that the rising tide floats all the boats and that you end up with better qualified people across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal. And then we have Emma Boardman. Emma's in level 2 and a very, very good one. 12th house sun, Leo.
That means she can kind of walk into a room and people don't notice her, but they feel her?
Yeah.
No, they don't feel her. No.
Like
they sense her.
They do, and she's very talented. And delightfully, she's into film work. Because as a 12th house sun, film director, perfect choice for a career, right? So I'm really, but she's also a really gifted astrologer, and her intuition supports that as well.
Okay.
But she's sensible enough to use, as Bernadette Brady would say, the eagle first and the lark second. So she does her due diligence and then uses her intuition. Go, Emma.
Go, Emma. Mark Douglas. Now, I just made friends with Mark Douglas.
I just want to make sure that we tell what she's doing. I know she's 12th house, but better relationships through astrology. So she's going to take you through synastry, and I'm not sure she's going to do composite, but I would expect that at the end of her lecture, you will have a better opportunity for relationships, whether it be with your kids, your partner, or the guy at work that's driving you wah-wah.
Yes, looking forward to that. And then we have Mark Douglas. I've only just made connections with Mark Douglas. It's funny, I got 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I've never met Mark Douglas. Kind of cracks me up when this happens. But he is going to be talking about Journey from the Ascendant, exploring who we're age, point, life clock timing.
Which it sounds complex.
This is a particular technique from a particular school.
It is.
But it's to do with stages of your life and to do with helping you time things, the best year to start something, for example.
Yeah.
So it's a particular way of looking at things, because Huber is from Germany, right?
It's German. And it's Devon, England has an English school. They've translated the work. Yeah, and so he's a correspondence student, and I believe if he hasn't graduated, he's just about to graduate. So he's now a professional member of the APA, and he's our Prince Edward Island representative as well.
Oh, Prince Edward Island.
Yeah.
Okay, Journey from the Ascendant is his lecture.
Yeah. So if you're panicking because you think it sounds super complicated, please don't. Just if you can bring your horoscope, your wheel, if you can bring it, a copy of it with Koch houses, Koch. You can get it on astro.com. And if you bring it with those houses, he can show you how to do your H point, and you don't need a computer. You can do it right on the flat birth chart.
To do with counting degrees and things. It's really easy and straightforward.
It is.
And do bring your chart. Now, if you get stuck and you don't have reliable software, I'm happy to run your chart through. I might not be able to print it for you, but I can run it through for you. And all of us astrologers, we're all keen to talk about what we do. It's our passion. It's our passion.
You're going to have a hard time not getting your chart read if you show up. I'm just saying, because everybody there's going to want to take a poke at you. And I think I'm pretty sure we can arrange to have a printer on site, so that if you are stuck, we can sort you out a copy of your chart.
And MJ's been putting goodie bags together for all our
sparkly goodie bags.
So there's a chance to win a copy of my book, readings from various astrologers, all sorts of little niceties.
Of astro cards from Donna Young.
Oh,
they're
all
really
sorts
cute.
of nice stuff. So we got this raffle going on.
And one of my astrology calendars, which is the Halifax Astrologer yearly. It's basically an astrology calendar, but it's for the Atlantic region, so you can actually tell what time locally something's going to happen.
And we might even do a raffle for next year's astrology conference.
Oh, we will. There will be
substantial prizes.
There will be one for you. You have to sign up for next year's conference. But from all the people who sign up, we will draw a name, and one of the people who have paid will get their money back. They'll get a free conference.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But before that excitement, we have MJ's lecture. She is doing Follow the Moon, Improve Health, Wealth, and Happiness. Now, I've seen MJ lecture a lot, and MJ has got a lot of really cool things, and she is also a teacher. So she's been bigging up the rest of us teachers, but she's got a way of teaching that's going to really enhance your astrology consultation practice. She's going to inspire you to want to study astrology more, and she's got this really special offering that we're all really looking forward to. So she's bringing everything to sort of can I say climax to it
to an end. I'm the last act, the hooker will come on the stage to pull me off, how it goes. But the thing is, actually, I'm quite excited because it says wealth. I could use some of that. So with any luck, by the end of my lecture, I might be richer. Party on. I'm already pretty happy, I have to say. Yeah. So I'm lucky with health and I'm lucky with happiness. Wealth, baby.
Yeah.
And when Alfie, because I'm a gator, and
Astro Gator,
an investigator, which is Alfie Lavoie's group, and I haven't been. He's I heard you were his girlfriend, which I'm like, does Carol know? But anyway, that's Papa Gator, which is like incestuous because aren't we sisters? That's kind of creepy. And isn't he my Astro dad? I don't know. It's all very
we're all Astro family. It's
all very incestuous, yeah. But the thing is, we did a thing on wealth through own means, and I won't go into gory details about it, except to say that we used artificial intelligence to figure out who would be wealthy and who wouldn't. And Pete, just for shits and giggles, we're past the watershed. He ran his chart through. And he ran my chart through.
Wait, sorry, Pete?
He was my research partner.
Oh, okay.
He's passed away now. Pete Standard. He was from Wesleyan University. He was a professor there. Anyway, he ran his chart through. It was blue, meaning, good salary, but not rich. And then he ran my chart through, and it was hot red, which means stupid money. And it's like, could that happen now? Now would be a good time. Last week would be even better. So the stars tell me I'm going to be stupid wealthy. So I would really like to get on with that.
I have an exalted Jupiter in the second house, and I'm still waiting to be.
It's all very frustrating.
But I'm not old yet.
No, darling, you're not old yet. And growing old. Certainly growing up, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think we're just about to the end of where we...
Well, we got to bring up the lunch that we're having on Sunday. One thing astrologers love to do is the fellowship thing, which always translates to eating. Eating, talking,
drinking,
having a drink.
Sociable. We have to do this maritime thing. Sociable. And then... There we go. Okay.
And I'm about ready for another glass. And I really think it's going to be a really good conference and with a really good future ahead of it. I'm so excited that so many new astrologers are coming onto the scene with good things to offer. And astrology is going to go from strength to strength to strength, based on astrologers sticking their necks out there and doing good talks and meeting the non-astrologers. So. It's really exciting times.
It is, and we're so. I want to shout out to yourself and to Danny and to these folks. Elodie's birthday weekend, and she's spending it with us. So these people are giving of themselves to make this happen for the community. All proceeds of this are going to CKDU, which is the last free voice on the air. CKDU.ca, which you're now listening to this show on. So, for all kinds of really good reasons, please come down to Royal Artillery Park Officers Mess on Saturday and Sunday and come and join with us. I think you're going to have a wonderful time. And Alex, you are, as always, a star in the firmament. And I thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having me, MJ.
Okay. And folks, from all of us here at the Astrology Show, may all your squares be building blocks. Good night. All right. Oops. And I can trim. Thank you. Yes.
Right.